Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of News Others Miss. I'm your host, John Wilkins. This is Research Roadshow, and today is Sunday, October 9th, and we're going to do another short piece on this case of the Chinese spy, Mr. Jianwei Yu, also known as Eugene Yu, and we're going to do a much better show, about an hour long, tomorrow night at 7 p.m. So let's pick up where we left off yesterday. Let's go over to Harry the Greek's great website, News Others Miss, and we'll pull up the article in question. This is actually Harry's fifth on Mr. Yu, the Chinese national who has been handling many of the elections here in the United States for quite a number of years now. Okay, this is not the right article. Let's go over and pick up the right one. Again, the reason that this is so interesting is because obviously we have the elections coming up in November, and everyone's curious to know who controls the electoral process, in the greater sense, here in the United States, especially in my state, here in Georgia, or back in Ohio, or Indiana, or Kentucky. Who runs the elections? Because the elections were never thought of as a national system. Elections were local, and somehow over the past 100 years, it's slightly shifted. It's shifted quite a bit. So let's pull up News Others Miss and go to Harry's latest article there. Mr. Yu, again, is the CEO, or was until recently, of Konnech. Konnech provides personal logistics to various counties throughout the Great Lakes region. And Mr. Yu is a card-carrying member of the CCP, and it's not clear yet why he spent so much time in the United States helping our electoral process. Hopefully during the trial, that will come out. Interestingly enough, Mr. Yu is married to I can't remember her name right now, but she's come on my radar before, about 4 or 5 years ago. Here, let's pull up her website. Kramsky, Fabiola Kramsky. She's won at least 2 Emmys for her work. She's a journalist, right? She's in the news business. But she has a lot of connections back to the New York media industry, not too surprisingly. And we're going to spend most of tomorrow talking about Mrs. Kramsky's career and her rapid rise to stardom, and whether or not there's a possibility that she could be somehow tied to Mockingbird 3. Many of our viewers know that Project Mockingbird was a big part of the discussion on Capitol Hill in the early 70s, when it was leaked out that the CIA and affiliates had bought off many journalists to essentially taint the truth in their reporting to the American public. But now they told us, after the Church Commission, they told us Project Mockingbird had gone away. But we're slowly learning, and painfully, that's probably not true. And so we're going to investigate tomorrow Mrs. Kramsky's potential role in modern day Project Mockingbird. And she is not the only member of the media. Oh, let me pull that up. I'm sorry. I thought it was showing on the screen. Fabiola Kramsky. Okay, here we go. Sorry about this, ladies and gentlemen. All right, there's a picture of her in the studio, and we're going to. Okay, I like this part. Her message to her target audience truly interacts with her and her company. She is passionate about expanding media access to underprivileged populations and giving back to the community. Okay, well, we'll look into that tomorrow evening. Ms. Kramsky has extensive media expertise and is a 3-time Emmy Award winner. She also received Mexico's prestigious Premio Nacional de Periodismo. Fabiola is honored to be associated with nonprofit organizations such as the YMCA, All Stars, La Casa de las Madres. She is involved in several social justice initiatives, and that's key. Underline the social justice work that she does to assist at-risk adolescents and raise awareness about domestic abuse. So George Gascon, he was born in Havana, and he moved here to the United States when he was 13, and it's the American dream, right? A kid from an underprivileged family comes to the United States, makes it big, becomes a VIP in Los Angeles, and marries a fairly wealthy person in the media. I'm sure that they're the darlings of Sunset Boulevard and all the parties they're about. And anyway, we're going to look fully into Ms. Kramsky's media career tomorrow, as well as more on Mr. Gascon. Now, why is this so important? If you didn't catch the first 2 episodes, George Gascon is the Los Angeles DA, and he spent 38 years in law enforcement. He's been in law enforcement for most of his adult life, and in the last election, he became the DA. Who gave $3.5 million to Mr. Gascon's campaign? George Soros, Open Society. And there are other DAs around the country that were heavily funded by Mr. Soros and some of his colleagues. Anyway, Mr. Gascon, Mr. Eugene Yu, arrested in Los Angeles. He was arrested in Lansing, Michigan. Why? Because several news about Mr. Yu's dealings and around, especially when certain mostly right-leaning people in Michigan started to look to the electoral process and the potential involvement of Konnech, and he was probably going to be arrested anyway. The people in Los Angeles Okay, hopefully you can hear me now. Apparently, the gods allowed me another 5 minutes. So here we are talking about the Los Angeles DA and his wife, Fabiola Kramsky. As I said before we got cut off, I'm going to spend a lot of time tomorrow. We're going to do a long episode tomorrow, covering their ties to media empires back in New York City. And why is that important? Because it's it's it goes somewhat against American principles for people in high public elected office to have ties to media in New York and potentially overseas. It's also disturbing that uh, that Mr. Gascon has friends in Southern California who may want to heavily favor the quick exit of Mr. Eugene Yu back to China. Because back in China, if he were to be prosecuted at all, he would get a very light sentencing because he's a senior member of the CCP, and that's not in doubt. It even came out in the pre-trial hearing there in the 55th district. Judge Donald Allen Well, I'm sorry, everybody, for wasting your time. Tomorrow, I guarantee you, we will have good upload and download speeds, and we will do a decent show. Shouldn't be more than 45 minutes, but it'll be jam-packed. Thank you all for tuning in. Please check out Harry's site and donate to his Patreon. This is a very big case. Thank you and have a good night.